Rebecca Dayan was hoping that, after life somewhat returned to normalcy, she would finally get to meet Elsa Peretti, the fashion icon and jewelry designer she portrays on Netflix's Halston. But she never got the chance. Peretti passed away in March at 80 years old. It was really sad, because I was hoping that once the world reopened, that I would get to meet with her, Dayan tells Bazaar.com over Zoom, speaking from her New York City apartment. She reveres the late Italian designer, perhaps so much so that she downplays her take on her life. Maybe she would have hated the way I portray her, Dayan jokes. I hope not. Peretti leaves behind an illustrious legacy that includes designing some of Tiffany Co's most famous pieces, like the bone cuff, snake necklace, and open heart pendants. But before her career with the jeweler took off, she was a good friend and muse to Roy Halston Frowick. Known widely by just his middle name, he was a titan of women's fashion in the 60s and 70s. As their friendship deepened, so did their creative partnership. Peretti went from being Halston's fit model to designing the unique teardrop bottle for his signature perfume. Directed by Daniel Minahan and starring Ewan McGregor in the titular role, Halston shows Peretti by the designer's side through it all, from the early days of his brand in a shoddy atelier, to his peak in the Studio 54 era, to the downfall of his brand, until the messy ending of their tight but volatile bond. Though Dayan didn't get to speak to anyone who knew Peretti in real life, what she gathered from her research with books and documentaries was that the designer was down to earth, despite her stature. She was an icon, but that was kind of something that was projected onto her rather than really who she was and how she was living. I think she was very real. Here, she opens up about immersing herself in fashion history, working with McGregor, and dedicating time to charitable work outside of Halston. What did you know about Elsa Peretti before taking on the role? Not much, to be honest. I knew her designs for Tiffany's, but I did not know anything about her life. I knew about Halston, but I had no idea of her involvement with Halston at all. So discovering all of that and more of her personal life and her as a creative force and as a woman in general was really interesting. Rebecca Dayan as Elsa Peretti in Netflix's Halston. NetflixElsa Peretti circa 1978 in New York. Images PressGetty Images. What kind of research did you do going into the role? Everything I could put my hands on, I watched. I watched the Halston documentary. I watched all the interviews I could find of Elsa on YouTube. I watched all the Battle of Versailles documentaries. And Dan Minahan has a crazy archive of clippings from magazines and old issues of Interview magazine and a lot of books as well. That was definitely really helpful to have him.